My child, stop right where you are. I need you to hear me before you take another step in the direction your exhaustion is pulling you. You breathed out that sigh just hours ago. You thought it went unheard. I heard it, every breath of it. I did not miss a single moment of what you have been carrying, and I'm not speaking to you today to revisit old ground. I'm speaking to you because what you are about to walk away from is not what you think it is. And if you leave now, before you hear what I have to say, you will spend years wondering why you stepped away when you did. Do not give up on that person. Not yet. Not today. I know exactly what that sentence cost you to hear. I know the weight of what you have been through with them. I know the silences that stretched too long, the words that landed like wounds, the moments you gave everything you had and received what felt like nothing in return. I know the nights you analyzed every conversation looking for something, anything, that told you this was worth it. I watched all of it. And I tell you with the full authority of heaven, you have not been wasting your time. You have been exactly where I asked you to be. Declare your amen if you have faith. In my kingdom, no one enters your life by accident. No one, not the ones who stayed, not the ones who left, and not this one. The one whose name is resting in your thoughts right now, even as you receive these words. Every person who has ever walked through the door of your world was directed there by my hand. And this person, this specific soul who has tested the limits of your patience and the depth of your love, they were not placed in your path by chance. They were placed there by design. A design so precise, so carefully constructed, that if I showed you the full picture right now, it would stop your breath. I have not shown you the full picture yet, not because I'm withholding it from you, but because the part you are living in right now is still being written. You are standing inside a chapter that looks like defeat. But from where I stand, looking at the whole story, this is the chapter right before everything changes. You have been looking at this person and seeing their flaws, their distance, their silence, their inability to meet you where you are. And because of what you have seen, you have concluded that you are pouring yourself into ground that will never produce anything. I need you to hear me clearly on this. What you perceive as barren ground is not barren. It is ground that has not yet reached its season. The seed you have been sowing with your love, your patience, your tears, and your refusal to walk away, that seed is alive. It is working beneath the surface in places your eyes cannot reach, and the harvest it is preparing is going to astonish you. I placed you in that person's life because you carry something they cannot get from anyone else. Not because you are perfect, not because your own wounds do not exist, but because I deposited a specific grace in you. A particular frequency of love that is the only thing capable of reaching the locked and defended parts of who they are. Where others saw someone not worth the effort, I saw what they were made to become. And I trusted you with the task of holding that vision when they could not hold it themselves. This relationship has been a mirror as much as it has been an assignment. I have been using what happens between you to show you things about yourself, fears that still need to be faced, places in your own heart that are still healing, strengths you did not know you had until this season pressed them out of you. None of this has been without purpose. Every difficult moment has been doing something in you that gentler circumstances could never have accomplished. You're not the same person you were when this began. You're stronger, deeper, and more capable of the kind of love I designed you to carry than you were before. Say, I believe, if this word is reaching your spirit. Now I want to tell you something about the person you are tempted to walk away from. The reason they have resisted you is not because your love is insufficient. It is because they have never stood in front of a light this pure before. Your presence in their life is a direct confrontation with the darkest and most defended parts of who they are. The walls they have built, the coldness, the silence, the distance, these are not evidence that you mean nothing to them. They are evidence that you mean more than they know how to handle. People do not build walls against things that do not matter. They build walls against things that threaten to change them, and you are changing them. Slowly, invisibly, in the places I work that no human eye can see, I have been visiting them in the quiet hours, in the stillness between sleeping and waking, in the moments when the noise around them fades and what remains is the truth of what they feel. And what I have been showing them in those moments is the picture of their life without you in it, the gap, the absence, the specific and irreplaceable thing that only your presence brings. They are not yet ready to say it out loud, but something is shifting. The ground is moving. The walls are developing cracks that are not yet visible from the outside. Do not walk away from a wall that is about to fall. The signs of what is coming will not arrive as a dramatic announcement. They will come quietly, the way all real things come, a softening in the way they speak to you. And if these Bible-centered messages have encouraged your walk with Christ, we invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs biblical hope today. If this ministry has blessed your life, and you would like to help us continue sharing scripture-centered encouragement around the world, you can support the ministry through the link provided below. A moment of unexpected vulnerability you did not see coming. A gesture that seems small but carries a weight of meaning that only you will recognize. A message at an unexpected moment. A look that says more than words have been allowed to say. These are not coincidences. They are the first visible movements of a transformation that has been underway in the unseen realm for longer than you know. Watch for them. Do not dismiss them as too small to matter. The first light of dawn is always small before it covers the sky. My child, I am asking you to take one tangible step of trust in this moment, not because your words or your waiting have not been enough, but because faith that moves only in the heart and never in the hand has not yet reached its full expression. Release a portion of what is in your hands. Lay it on the altar of this work as a physical act of surrender. The way a farmer presses seed into the ground before there is any sign of rain. The seed does not wait for proof before it enters the soil. It trusts the ground, and the ground does what ground was made to do. Sow your seed here. Release it with the certainty of someone who has heard my voice today and chosen to believe it. And watch what I do, in response to a faith that is willing to move. Now let me speak to you about the sign you have been asking for. You have been asking for it in the quiet of your own thoughts, in the space between words and prayers, in the half-formed hopes you were almost afraid to hold. You asked me to show you something that would make it clear, something that would give you enough certainty to keep going, and I want you to understand what I am about to tell you very carefully. The sign you asked for is already here. It arrived in the moment these words reached your ears, not because words are magical, but because I directed your attention here. I brought you to this moment. That does not happen without intention. I do not lead my children to moments that have nothing for them. The fact that something in you recognized these words, the fact that they landed somewhere real and not just on the surface, the fact that the name of that person came to your mind as you listened, these are not coincidences. These are answers. The sign is not coming. The sign is now. The question is not whether I have spoken. The question is whether you are willing to receive what I have said. There were nights you went to sleep still carrying the question, will this ever change? Am I wasting my life? Is any of this real? You asked those questions honestly in the dark when there was no one to impress and no performance to maintain. I heard everyone, and I want you to know none of them were unanswered. Every question you have ever brought to me in genuine searching has been received, held, and is being addressed. I do not ignore the honest cries of my children. I simply do not always answer in the way or the timing the human mind expects. State. I trust if you believe this belongs to your life today. You have been expecting a sign that comes from outside, something undeniable, something that removes the need for faith entirely. But I need you to understand something about the nature of signs. A sign that requires no faith is not a sign, it is a demonstration. I work through faith, not demonstrations, because faith is the only environment in which transformation actually takes root. If I removed all uncertainty and simply showed you the outcome, you would be a spectator of your own story rather than a participant in it. The participant is the one who matters. The participant is the one who grows. The participant is the one who, when they are standing in the fullness of what I promised, understands from the inside what it cost, and what it was worth. You are a participant. You have always been one. And the participation you have offered through your patience, your refusal to quit, your choice to keep loving when everything in your natural mind said to stop. That is not nothing. That is one of the most significant things I have ever watched you do. It has not been wasted. It has been building something. Let me tell you what is about to move in the visible world. The frozen places are beginning to thaw. The situations that seem permanently stuck are beginning slowly to shift. You will begin to notice things changing in ways that feel almost too small to mention, but that you will recognize as meaningful. A conversation that opens without you having to force it. A softening in an atmosphere that has felt hostile for a long time. A door that was firmly closed beginning to move on its hinges. These are not your imagination. These are the first visible expressions of what I have been arranging in the unseen. Do not overlook them because they are not large enough. My work rarely announces itself. It begins in the small. It grows from there. The worries that have filled your thoughts are beginning to lose their grip. This is not wishful thinking. This is the natural consequence of what happens when my word reaches a willing heart. The anxiety that has been tight in your chest. The constant low hum of dread, the sleeplessness that came from carrying questions too heavy for sleep. These things are beginning to release, not because your circumstances have already changed, but because I'm settling something in your spirit that does not depend on circumstances. A peace that holds in the middle of the unresolved. That peace is mine to give, and I am giving it to you now. Declare, I receive this today if your heart is open. I want to speak now about what this connection is actually for because you have been seeing it too narrowly. You've been asking whether this relationship is worth the cost. That is the right question, but the wrong frame. The real question is not what it is costing you. The real question is what it is producing. And it is producing something that goes far beyond the two of you. What is being built through your obedience in this season is not just a restored relationship. It is a testimony. A living proof of something that a watching world desperately needs to see, that love holds, that patience is not a sign of weakness, but of extraordinary strength, that two broken people can be brought by my hand into something neither of them could have created alone. The impact of this will not stop with you. It will reach people you have never met. It will reach conversations that have not yet happened. It will reach the children who will one day look at what you built and learn something about how to love from watching it. This is generational work. This is the kind of thing I do through people who are willing to stay when every reasonable voice said to go. You did not end up in this assignment because it was going to be easy. You ended up in it because I knew you could carry it. Not without cost, not without pain, but with the depth of character I knew was in you even when you doubted it. You've proven me right, not perfectly, not without stumbling, but you have kept coming back. You have kept choosing to remain. And that choice, repeated day after day through seasons of uncertainty, is the foundation of everything that is about to be built. Your tears were seeds, every single one. They went into the ground and they did not disappear. They are becoming something. They are about to become something visible. The harvest does not announce its arrival, it simply appears. And when it does, you will know immediately that the sowing was worth it. Now, let me say something to you about yourself. Not about the situation, not about that person, but about you. You have been asking whether you are enough, whether your love is enough, whether your patience has been enough, whether you are someone capable of seeing this through. I want to answer those questions plainly. You are enough. Not because you have performed perfectly, but because I placed in you exactly what this assignment requires. I did not give you this calling and withhold what you needed to carry it. That is not how I work. The calling and the equipping arrive together. The version of you that has been shaped by this seasoned audacious is more capable than you know. What felt like erosion was actually formation. What felt like things being stripped away was actually the removal of what was never meant to stay, making room for what is permanent. You are being established. The ground beneath you is firmer than it has ever been, precisely because of what you have walked through to get here. Do not let the enemy convince you that the difficulty was evidence of failure. It was evidence of formation, and the one who was formed in it is someone I can now trust with what is coming next. What is coming next is good. I say that with the full weight of my word behind it. The season that is arriving is not more of the same. It is different, qualitatively different. The atmosphere over your life is changing. The resistance that has made everything feel like wading through deep water is lifting. What once required enormous effort will begin to feel more natural. The conversations will go differently. The interactions will carry a different quality. The relationship that has been the source of your greatest weariness is going to become in time one of your greatest sources of strength. That is not a vague promise. It is a specific and real thing that is already in motion. I am the God who honors faithfulness. I do not look away when my children stay in the hard places I ask them to stay in. I see it, I record it, I respond to it, and my response to what you have given in this season is going to be worthy, because too, of what it cost you. Walk forward now from this moment knowing three things. You are not alone in a single day of this, not one. I was present in every difficult conversation, every sleepless night, every moment you chose to stay when leaving would have been easier. I was there. Second, nothing that you have poured into this has been wasted. The economy of my kingdom does not permit waste. Every act of love, every tear, every prayer, every choice to extend grace when you were running empty, it all counts. It all accumulates. It is all working towards something you are going to see. And third, the sign you asked for is real. It is here. This moment is not an accident. Your presence in it is not random. Something sent you here. Trust that something. Trust the one who sent you. Let your spirit settle into the truth of what I have spoken today, not as a temporary comfort that fades when you step back into the difficulty, as a foundation, a new reference point for everything that comes after. You came to this moment carrying the weight of a question. You are leaving it with an answer. Not every detail resolved, not every outcome certain, but the most important thing in place. You are heard, you are seen, you are not alone, and what you are doing matters far more than you know. I love you with a love that does not fluctuate with your performance or your doubt. It simply is, and it is entirely, completely yours. Let me go deeper with you now. But first, I want to address something you may have been afraid to bring directly to me. The question you have been carrying underneath all the other questions. The one that lives in the deepest and most honest part of you. You have been asking whether I am actually real, whether any of this is actually true, whether the faith you have been choosing to hold on to is pointing at something that exists or at something you have simply needed to believe in to survive the difficulty. I do not punish that question. I hear it as the most honest thing you have offered me in a long time, and I answer it the same way I always answer honest questions, with truth. Not with a performance that bypasses your doubt, but with something that lands in the real part of you that already knows the difference between what is genuine and what is fabricated. You already know I am real, not because someone told you, because you have felt me in the moments you cannot fully explain, in the peace that arrived without a reason for it, in the sense of being held in the darkest nights when there was nothing around you that should have produced that feeling, in the strange turning of events that aligned in ways too precise to have been random. You have your own evidence. You have been dismissing it or being careful with it because the world around you makes you cautious about saying out loud what you know in private. But you know, and today I am confirming what you know. I am real. I am here. I am speaking to you right now, and what I'm saying is true. Now let me speak to you about something that has been a source of confusion in this season. The silence. The periods where it felt like heaven had gone quiet, like your prayers were reaching a ceiling and Istra returning unanswered, like you were speaking into an empty room and nothing was coming back. I need to explain what was actually happening in those silences, because the explanation matters for how you carry yourself going forward. I was not silent. I was working at a level your senses were not calibrated to detect. The work I do in people happens mostly beneath the surface of what is visible in the interior spaces of a person's character and faith and understanding. That work requires quiet on my end, not the silence of absence, but the silence of deep concentration. The craftsman who stops speaking when the work reaches its most critical stage is not distant from the work. They're most present in it. That is what those silences were. Presence so intense, it looked from the outside like absence. This is also what has been happening in that person. The changes I am making in them are happening at a depth where they themselves cannot fully feel or articulate them. They do not have the words for what is shifting inside them. They may not even have awareness of it yet. But it is happening. I am at work in the hidden places of their interior life in ways that will only become visible when they emerge into speech and action and gesture. What looks from the outside like no change is very often the period of most intensive change. The seed does not look any different from the outside while everything is happening inside it. Trust the process even when you cannot see the process. This is the core of what I am asking from you. Not blind trust, informed trust. Trust that is based on understanding how I work and choosing to align with that understanding, even when the circumstances are not yet confirming it. I want to also speak to you about the identity you have been assigned in this season. Not just the role you have played in that person's story, but who you are becoming through the playing of it. You came into this season as someone who knew in theory what it meant to love without conditions. You are living it, or rather continuing through it, as someone who knows it in their bones. The knowledge has moved from your mind into your character. That is a different kind of knowing entirely. It is the kind that does not leave when difficulty arrives. It is the kind that holds its shape when everything around it is pressing against it. You are carrying a grace now that you could not have carried a year ago. A capacity for patience that was built in the exact environment I designed to build it. A depth of compassion that came from genuinely living through something that cost you. These are not small acquisitions. These are the qualities that I use to move things in the world. The people I work through most powerfully are the ones who have been shaped in exactly this way. Who have learned not theoretically, but actually what it means to stay. Let me go deeper with you now, because there is more I want you to understand about the nature of what you are carrying and why I chose you to carry it. The assignment I give to people is not random. I do not hand out the hardest callings to the weakest vessels. I give the most demanding assignments to the people I have prepared most carefully. And most of the time, that preparation happened through exactly the kind of difficulty they are now being asked to walk through. You did not arrive at this season by accident. Everything that came before it, the losses, the lessons, the seasons that broke things open in you, all of it was building toward the specific capacity you now have to carry what I am asking of you. Think about what it has required of you to stay. Real patience. The kind that does not perform for an audience, but holds quietly in private when there is nothing to show for it. Real love. The kind that does not depend on what it receives in return, but gives because it is the nature of the one giving. Real faith. Not the kind that believes when circumstances cooperate, but the kind that holds in the dark when nothing visible supports it. These are not small things. These are the qualities of someone I can build a testimony through. And a testimony is exactly what this is becoming. The world around you is watching, even when you cannot feel their eyes. Other people who are in the middle of their own impossible relationships are watching what you do with yours. Not because you are putting it on display, but because truth travels. The way you carry this will reach people in ways you will never know in this life. Your faithfulness is not a private thing even when it feels entirely private. It is making a mark on something larger than your own story. I want to speak to you now about trust, specifically about what it means to trust me in a situation where you cannot see what I am doing. Trust is not the feeling of certainty. Trust is the choice to act as though what I said is true, even when you cannot confirm it yet. You had been living in the gap between my promise and its visible fulfillment. That gap is not evidence that I have forgotten. The gap is where faith lives. The gap is where character is built. The gap is where the deepest work I do in my children actually happens, because it is the only environment in which they learn to rely on me rather than on their own understanding. You have been in that gap for a long time. I know it has been long. I do not dismiss the length of it or the weight of it. But I need you to hear me when I tell you that the gap is closing. What has felt endless is not endless. It has an edge. And that edge is closer than the weariness in your spirit has allowed you to believe. I am a God of seasons. I designed the world to move through them because I designed people to need them. The hard seasons are not permanent. They are seasonal. Winter does not last forever. Not because the war got lucky, but because I built the turning of seasons into the very structure of how things work. Your winter is turning. I can see the turning from where I stand, even if you cannot yet feel it from where you stand. The ground is warming beneath the surface. The things that seem completely still are beginning to stir. You do not need to feel the turning to trust that it is happening. You simply need to stay. That is all I am asking. Stay in faith one more day and then one more. Not through gritted teeth and not through performance. Stay with the real and honest acknowledgement that this is hard and that you are choosing to trust me anyway. That is the kind of staying that moves heaven. Not the polished kind that pretends everything is fine. The honest kind that says, I am struggling and I still believe. I have seen your struggle. It has not made me impatient with you. It has made me closer to you. The places in you that feel most broken are the places where my presence is most dense, because those are the places that most need what only I can give. You have not been abandoned in your weakness. You have been held in it more carefully than you know. Now I want to tell you something about the days that are coming. Not in vague terms, in real ones. The conversations that have felt impossible are going to become possible, not all at once, and not without effort. But the quality of the connection between you and that person is going to shift in a way that becomes undeniable. You are going to have a conversation that surprises you, that opens something that has been closed for a long time, that says more in what is left unsaid than in what is actually spoken. You will know it when it happens. Something in you will recognize it as the first real movement of what I promise you. The dreams you have almost stopped holding are not gone. I know you have been careful with your hope, protecting it, keeping it small, so the disappointment would not be as large. I am asking you to let it be larger again, not carelessly, but honestly, because hope that stays small in order to protect itself from pain is not faith. And I need faith from you right now, not caution. I need you to hold the vision of what this can become, what I have already seen that it will become. And let that vision be strong enough to carry you through the days when the circumstances have not yet caught up with the promise. You are not going to regret staying. I tell you that plainly and without qualification. When you are standing on the other side of this season, looking back at the day you almost walked away and chose instead to remain, you will understand everything. The difficulty will make sense. The timing will make sense. The specific way this unfolded will make sense. And you will be grateful with the depth of gratitude that can only come from having lived through something real. That you listened to this voice rather than the one that told you it was over. It is not over. It is not even close to over. It is about to begin in a way you have not yet seen. Your household is going to know peace. Real peace. The kind that is not just the absence of conflict, but the presence of something alive and warm and settling. The tension that has lived in the air is going to lift. The guardedness is going to soften. The walls are going to come down slowly at first and then in a way that feels surprising in its completeness. And in the space that opens up when the walls fall, something new is going to be built. Something that neither of you could have constructed on your own. Something that has my fingerprints all over it because it will be genuinely impossible without me. This is what I do. I build things in the ruins that the builder said could not be built. I restore what everyone agreed was beyond restoration. I make roads in places that look like they would never have a road. That is not poetic language. That is the literal description of how I work. And I am working that way right now in the specifics of your situation, in the details of what is happening between you and that person, and in the hidden interior lives of both of you. I want to speak to you about fear, because underneath the exhaustion, underneath the question of whether to stay or go, there is something else. There is fear. And I want to name it clearly so that the naming of it takes away some of its power. You are afraid that staying will mean more of the same pain, that you will give more of yourself and receive more of the same silence or coldness or disappointment in return. But you will have chosen the harder path and arrived at the same dead end. That hope will have cost you more than you can afford to spend. I hear that fear. I understand it. It is a reasonable response to what you have been through, and I am not dismissing it or telling you it is wrong to feel it. What I am telling you is that it is based on an incomplete picture. The fear is calculating the future based on the past, assuming that what has been will continue to be, that the pattern is fixed and permanent. But the pattern is not fixed. The pattern is exactly what I am in the process of breaking. Fear operates by projection. It takes the data of what is already happened and extends it forward in a straight line. But I do not move in straight lines. I move in ways that the data could not have predicted. I make things possible that every reasonable calculation said were impossible. That is not an exaggeration of my ability. It is a description of my nature. I am the God of the unexpected reversal. The God of the thing no one saw coming. The God who makes a way precisely at the moment when every path appears blocked. Your fear is real. Your history is real. And my ability to do something entirely new in the middle of both of those realities is also entirely real. The question is not whether I am able. The question is whether you are willing to let the fear be present while still choosing trust. That is what real faith looks like, not the absence of fear, the presence of trust alongside it, holding both at once and choosing which one to act from. Act from trust, not because the fear is gone, but because you have heard my voice today, and something in you recognizes it as true. Let that recognition be stronger than the fear. Let it be the thing that determines your next step. There is something else I want to address. The loneliness of this season. The particular kind of lonely that comes from carrying something so specific and personal that most of the people around you could not fully understand it, even if you tried to explain. The isolation of a calling that is genuinely yours and not easily shared. The experience of going through something that looks from the outside like stubbornness or inability to move on, but that you know from the inside is something entirely different. You are not stubborn. You are faithful. There is a world of difference between those two things, and I know which one is true of you. Stubbornness refuses to change. Faithfulness holds the right thing even when change is being demanded by every external pressure. What you have been doing is the latter, holding something real in the face of pressure to release it. That is not a character flaw. That is a virtue, and one I value deeply. The loneliness will not be permanent. Community is coming. Understanding is coming. People who have walked through something similar and come out the other side are being directed toward your life. You will not always have to carry this alone. The season of isolated endurance is ending. What follows, it is a season of shared strength, of being known in your real story by people who can hold it with you, and of beginning to give to others what you have learned from carrying this. You are close, closer than you know. Hold on a little longer. Now, I want to speak to the part of you that is still holding the specific question about the person, not the general question of whether to keep going, but the very particular quiet question that you have been afraid to ask out loud. The question that says, does this person actually love me? Have they ever really seen me? Do I mean anything real to them, or am I simply a presence they have grown used to? I answer that question directly. They see you. They have always seen you. What they have not yet been able to do is say so, or show it in a way that reaches you clearly. The sight and the expression of the sight are two different things, and the gap between them is exactly where I am working. I am building a bridge in that gap. I am doing something in them that is moving the locked interior part of them, the part that knows what they feel but has been sealed off from its own expression by fear and history. The kind of wound that does not heal without the specific kind of patience you have been offering. They are going to be able to say it. Not perfectly, not immediately, but more and more clearly as the changes I am making in them come to the surface. You will begin to see in small and then in larger ways that you were never as invisible to them as the silence made you feel. You were always there in their thoughts, in the moments they turned away from you, not because you meant nothing, but because you meant too much, and they did not know what to do with that. Hold this truth, return to it on the hard days. It is not wishful thinking. It is what I see from the vantage point that sees everything. You are known by the person you have been loving. Known and valued, and beneath the defenses, deeply grateful for the gift of your presence even when they have not found the way to say so. That is changing. The expression is coming. Stay for it. Stay because I am asking you to, and because what you are waiting for is real, and because the version of this story that is unfolding in my hands is more beautiful than the ending your exhaustion has been imagining. I am with you in every step of what comes next. Every single one. You are not walking into the future alone. You are walking into it with the God who designed it, who holds it, and who is actively and specifically invested in your good. This is not the end. This is the turning point. The place where the story shifts. The moment you will look back at and say, that was when things began to change. Step forward into it. The things you have asked for in faith are real requests that deserve real responses, and real responses are coming. Let me say one more thing before we close. About you and me, about this relationship, the one between you and your Father. I am not distant from you. I have never been. The silence that has sometimes felt like distance was not distance. It was the silence of a Father who was very close and very quietly working. The way a craftsman goes quiet when the work is at its most delicate stage. I was not absent in the hardest moments. I was most present in them. And I need you to carry that truth forward into everything that comes after today. Come to me in the ordinary moments, not only the desperate ones. Talk to me when things are quiet, not only when everything is falling apart. Include me in the plans and the small decisions and the unremarkable days. Because the kind of closeness I want with you is not crisis-based. It is constant, woven through every hour, every conversation, every sunrise, and every dark night. That is the relationship I designed you for, not distance punctuated by emergency contact, continuous, genuine, everyday closeness. You are going to be fine, better than fine. What is ahead of you is good, real good. The kind that has been prepared and held and is being released in this season specifically for you. Receive it. You were made for it. I hold you. I see you. I am not finished with what I started in your life, not by a long way. And if these Bible-centered messages have encouraged your walk with Christ, we invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs biblical hope today. If this ministry has blessed your life, and you would like to help us continue sharing scripture-centered encouragement around the world, you can support the ministry through the link provided below.